playing like absolute trash through huge swaths of the game, and still somehow coming out with a chance to win it at the very end. Then finding some way to bangle it up. Welcome to the jungle, Bengals fans. I'm Kyle Phelps, and it's about time we get back into it, huh? Sorry about my absence this offseason, by the way. I had the opportunity to make a big move in my career, and I took it. Unfortunately, it just didn't leave any time for any outside projects in my life, but I'm back now. Hopefully, we're going to be ramping up the Battle of Ohio podcast back up soon, too, which that one's been on, partial hiatus. Partially because, Thomas has had a lot of stuff going on in his life, too. Before we get started, though, as always, I just ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my content. The more this channel grows, the more time I can dedicate towards doing this, and hopefully not to take 6-month-long breaks, The best way that you can help this channel is by doing just that. Now that we've got that out of the way, though, let's talk about this game. If we have to. Man, that was honestly one of the most brutal games I've ever watched as a Cincinnati Bengals fan. And that's including when we got embarrassed in the playoffs in 2015. I mean, I think that was more embarrassing. I think that was a worse game for me to watch. But at the same time, this one was pretty comparable. You got week 1 coming off of a Super Bowl appearance, and we've got the hated Pittsburgh Steelers at home looking like a shell of their former selves. It's like sheep for the slaughter. Am I right? Right? Well, you'd think that. Seemed like everything was aligning for the Cincinnati Bengals to take their place as the new AFC North bullies. Of course, except for everything. And I mean everything. Looking the exact same as it did last year. I mean, don't get me wrong. We swept the Steelers last year. Truly a marvelous time to be a Cincinnati Bengals fan. But the game reminded me of almost every loss that we had last year. Playing like absolute trash through huge swaths of the game, and still somehow coming out with a chance to win it at the very end. Then finding some way to bangle it up. Of course, there were plenty of games that played out like that last year that we did end up winning. Week 1 against the Vikings, Week 4 against the Jaguars, both games against the Kansas City Chiefs, Week 17 and the AFC Championship. So honestly, feeling like this is nothing new for Cincinnati Bengals fans. Starting the game off with a pick 6 on Joe Burrow's first play of the game was frustrating. It reminded me of the Browns game at home last year. That was the first drive, not the first pass of the game, but, I digress. They did get a field goal on the upcoming drive, but they turned the ball over on their next 3 drives in a row. Luckily, this defense played unbelievably well under the face of extreme pressure. And honestly, what else is new? That's just what the defense does at this point. The Steelers only got 10 points out of those turnovers, and the Bengals got another field goal at the end of the half to take it down to 17-6 at halftime. That doesn't sound great, but quite frankly, they should have been down like 28-6 at this point. All right, so second half, we've had crazier comebacks, right? I mean, hell, I just went through a bunch of crazy ones earlier in the video, both of those Chiefs games. We get the ball back on the opening kickoff, so we should be able to punt. Yeah, that's what I meant. That's not great. The defense forced the Steelers to punt, and the Bengals put together a touchdown on the next possession. Suddenly, it's 17-14, and with the defense playing so well, finding a way to get back in front and coming away with the win seems totally reasonable. Although it sure would help if Joe Burrow wasn't eating turf every 10 seconds. Actually, on that note, I did want to address the offensive line real quick. It is extremely frustrating. I will admit that the Bengals went out and spent $79 million this offseason on the offensive line, and they looked as bad as ever. La'el Collins was getting absolutely worked early on and through various stretches of the game. Although, to be fair, the offensive line really did look like it kind of settled in later in the game. Jonah Williams struggled pretty much consistently through the whole thing, and that sucks because he was the guy who you were expecting to be like the big holdover who actually is going to help out. Point is, though, I think people do need to take a step back with the offensive line struggles and realize that this unit has never played together before. Maybe they should have in the preseason, and that's kind of a problem, but we are starting a D3 rookie at left guard, so you should have expected some growing pains, quite frankly. I think they'll be fine, though. All right, so the defense is great. Forces Steelers to punt, and the offense gets the ball back. Not a whole lot going on here. Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine combined for about 13 yards on the ensuing set of downs, but another Joe Burrow sack leads to a punt. The Steelers get a 20-yard return on the play, and by the way, just a note, I'm pretty sure this is the play where long snapper Clark Harris got hurt on. He whiffed on the tackle that he was trying to make that led to the 20-yard return, and he went down clutching his wrist, so I thought he hurt his wrist on the play when it happened. As you're watching this recap, you know he tore a bicep muscle, and that's going to be a huge deal later on. Oh, God. So the Steelers are set up at the Bengals 45 at this point. The defense only allows 15 yards on that drive. It's nice. Unfortunately, that 15 yards is enough to get the Steelers in field goal range, though. So now it's 20-14. But hold on a minute. Somehow, and I'm still struggling to figure this out now as I'm recording this video, like a couple days later. With the way the defense is playing, I'm pretty sure the Bengals are going to win if they can just take the lead. Like, if the offense can just get their heads out of their ass and take the lead, they won't lose it the way the defense is playing. And that's pretty much confirmed by the way the rest of the game went, right? Joe Burrow had another interception on the next drive while the Bengals were near field goal range. But the defense forced a punt, and, you know, it's working out all right. Now, at this point, I also want to talk about the coaching. There were a number of coaching blunders that people say gave this game away, and I don't entirely agree with that. I don't think it was entirely the coaching blunders' fault. That said, I'll never understand Zach Taylor's thought process on this drive, though. The interception that Joe Burrow threw was on 4th and 6 in field goal range. You've still got 8:23 left in the game, and you could set yourself up to tie the game, at worst, with another mildly successful drive next time if you get a defensive stop. The way that both sides of the ball have been playing, I think it's perfectly likely that exactly that's going to happen. You're going to have a shot on your next drive. So why do it here? Why not just take the points? Instead, they come away with nothing. And the same thing happened on the next drive, too. Defense played great. Got them the ball back with 6 minutes left to go. Joe Burrow connected on a big hitter to Joe Mixon and ran it for 23 yards himself on the next play. Easy field goal range at this point. From that point, the Bengals offense is just anemic. They ain't doing anything. They're bailed out on a TJ Watt holding, which did give them another fresh set of downs, but only after another sack. And then they take 8 plays to drive at 22 yards. So the Bengals end up on 4th down with 2 yards to go and mostly doing nothing with a few big plays sprinkled in here and there. And I mean, those are fun, but then a whole lot of nothing happens. In my opinion, you're frustrated that you didn't get a touchdown here, but your defense is playing so great that, again, for the second drive in a row, take the damn field goal. If you had taken the field goal on the last drive and on this one, you'd be ready to tie the game with probably enough time for one last drive and a defensive stop. Maybe Clark Harris being hurt is why they didn't. I don't know, but it's just a really weird decision in my opinion. Nope. 4th and goal at the Steelers' 2-yard line, and Joe Burrow misses Jamar Chase in the end zone, and that sucks. That said, I do want to point out, I'm not usually the guy who's always like, you know, let's blame the refs for like losing and stuff like that. Like bad calls define the game. Like the fact of the matter is you got to decisively beat another team, and if you don't, you leave yourself open to like, you know, some crazy stuff like the refs having a bad call, right? So you just can't let that happen. But this was such an egregious, horrible call, I at least have to point it out. Jamar Chase, 2:54 left in the game, found by Joe Burrow on the left side right at the end zone. And he gets the ball across the plane, as you can see in this clearly defined picture. And somehow the ref's like, nope, that's not a touchdown. And nobody reviews it. Oh, Zach Taylor, why didn't you review this? And then the thing that just absolutely boggles my mind about the fact that they didn't review it is the fact that they took a timeout before the next play anyway. So if you're going to lose the timeout, challenge the play, which, like, even if you didn't have somebody looking at it upstairs, it still looks maybe iffy on, you know, on the field. And if you're going to take the timeout anyway, might as well take the challenge. I don't understand. But whatever. Luckily, this defense is for real, though. Like, everything happened the way it happened, but despite that, I think Bengals fans should be excited about this year just to see what the defense can accomplish. And as we all know, last year the offense got off to a slow start and ramped it up over time too. But anyway, after that missed touchdown, Ja'Marr Chase got a silly taunting penalty, which, by the way, didn't do anything. But come on, are we really calling this? Are we really throwing flags over this? Like, I don't. Can we stop? Nobody likes the taunting rules. It's just ridiculous. But, you know, like I said, it didn't end up mattering anyway because the Bengals defense only gave up 4 yards to the Steelers and got the ball right back to the offense. This time, Joe Burrow found Ja'Marr Chase in the end zone, and the extra point gets blocked. Oh my God, no. Of course it did, though. Probably partly due to the timing of the snap being off, because of that injury to Clark Harris that I mentioned earlier. And, you know, you've got your, what I consider to be the 4th string tight end starting as your long snapper at this point. I know on the depth chart he's listed as the 3rd, but I think Devin Asiasi is probably better than Mitchell Wilcox, so in the long run, I think Wilcox will be the 4th string tight end. So, overtime comes, Steelers win the coin toss, but, you know, no matter, we've all seen this movie before, right? The Bengals defense did exactly what you should have expected at this point, and they put the clamps down, because overtime rules are fine, because the fact of the matter is, if you lose the coin toss, you got to play defense, because defense is part of the game. The Bengals proved that last year against the Chiefs after, you know, Bills fans were like, oh, no, the coin rules and everything, but no, just play defense, dude, and you'll be fine. And that's what the Bengals did this week. They played defense, they got their offense, another opportunity to put this gigantic turd of a game away. And then we got another infuriating decision from Zach Taylor. To be clear, by the way, I am still a big fan of Coach Taylor, but even I have to admit that he's got some pretty mind-boggling decisions at times. Joe Burrow and the offense are moving the ball pretty well until they get to about the 13-yard line when things kind of stall out. And I mean, hey, that's easy field goal range though, right? We've basically got this in the bag no matter what happens, as long as they don't turn the ball over. Just, you know, keep going. It's 3rd down. It's fine. Although that's weird. They're going for a field goal on 3rd down. What the hell? Oh God, look, it's a bad snap. What? I guess that's why they're doing this. Fair enough. But then Kevin Huber, he's putting it down awkwardly anyway, and McPherson's going for the kick. And it's only, you know, 29 yards, whatever. And he missed it! Okay, so first of all, I get it's a weird snap connection and everything like that, but from 29 yards, you better make that, Evan. Like, I don't know what, like yes, you're not used to this snapper combo, but like, really 29 yards because the laces weren't exactly in the right spot? God, man. Funnily enough, Chris Boswell actually missed a field goal on the Steelers' next drive, although that one was from 55 yards, so that's a lot more understandable. Problem is, the Bengals' offense kind of stalled out on their last drive in overtime. Joe Burrow got hit for his 7th sack of the night and fumbled the ball. And we all got really excited for a second because Samaje Perine actually recovered the fumble and ran the ball forward into field goal range, but the refs called it back because you can't advance a fumble on offense, which of course is the right call. I understand, but damn it, I don't have to like it. Call me crazy though, but at this point, I still would have tried for a field goal instead of the way that it worked. Evan McPherson has the leg to make a 67-yard field goal, and I know all the snapping issues, and I know, I just argued about leaving the ball in Joe Burrow's hands, but obviously we're not going to do that because the offense is just dangerous right now. But honestly, what they ended up doing was punting the ball with basically no time left to try again. So they punted the ball back to the Steelers. That seems dangerous to me too, because quite honestly, like, you know, Kevin Huber got a touchback, and I mean, you saved 25 yards, but really that's just warm-up yardage to get in the field goal range. And I don't know. I just think you go for the win instead of playing for the tie at this point. Because, like, honestly, that's your only option if you punt. You're playing for the tie. There's not enough time to come back at this point. Like, as good as the defense playing, they're not going to get your offense the ball back, for another drive at this point. And, of course, they punted and still let Mitch Trubisky and the Steelers drive into field goal range for the win. So that sucks. But you know what? I gotta say, this Bengals team still showed a lot of fight. Same way they showed it last year. Joe Burrow was literally staring forward blankly for large swaths of time in the locker room after the game. Like his soul had been ripped from him. You see that, you know they're going to bounce back. You cannot see that and not think, oh, this team's like going to fight and they're going to bounce back. You can see it in the way that they never gave up in this game. And that right there is why I'm still a big fan of Zach Taylor. Even though he's got these weird coaching errors and it causes problems and stuff like that. But that unceasing, unrelenting mentality, I'll take that over perfect strategy any season. Because you're never going to have perfect strategy. There's always going to be coaching blunders. And it's really just about, like, can you fight back from the blunders? And the Bengals do have that with Zach Taylor, and that's why I'm still a fan of him. But that's all I've got for this week, guys. It's only week 1. We're on to Dallas, and that's what we're focused on now. So thank you so much for watching. As always, you can always find more of what I do at Kyle Phelps92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/ThePhelps. The Battle of Ohio podcast, which is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Check out my written work at atbnetwork.com and catch me right here if you subscribe. But hey, listen, even when we lose to the Steelers, I'll still leave y'all, as always, with a hootie!